now we have a case study-based presentation to bring us up to lunch. That's going to be delivered by the folks at Controlant and Teva in combination. So we have a session looking at how real-time control towers intervention is really delivering value. And that is going to be led by Valgeir Petursson, who is the Global Head of Logistics at Teva, and Ada Palmadottir. Did I get that right? Yes. Who is Vice President Business Development with Controlant. So give these guys a hand.
Thank you very much, and welcome to join our session. We are here in magic Montreux, which is a fantastic arena to be in. I'm from Controlant, as mentioned, and together here with me today, co-presenting, is Valgeir Petursson, a dear friend and a partner. As Controlant and Teva have been working together for many years, delivering results, good business results, innovative ideas, a lot of learning throughout the years of the cooperation.
Thank you. And assuming everybody can hear me, it's very nice. Thank you for the kind words. Nice to be here in Montreux again. So when Ada called me up and asked if I wanted to co-present with her, before she mentioned what it was about, she said, "It's in Montreux, so you must come." And again, seconding what she said earlier, yes, we have been working together for 12 years, more or less, in the space of real-time monitoring, solution, value creation, back and forth. And that's why we want to talk to you a little bit about where we are and the latest developments that we're making. Excellent venue again, Montreux, always nice. Hotel is first class, offers a very nice spa. The spa facility is absolutely first row. Thank you very much, Ada, for those who haven't tried it out. So, very good day.
Thank you all for the sacrifice. It's a tough job. Somebody got to do it. Thank you so much. We, as a leader in our field of industry, of course, it's all about technology. And technology is definitely the enabler for everything. It is the foundation of it. But today, I promise you, we're not going to talk that much about technology. We're going to talk about processes and people. Technology, again, is the foundation. We get the real-time information so we can take the right actions to save products. But what we have seen throughout the years working with many great companies, collecting information and data, we see that the number one reason for things going wrong, for failures in the system, is due to people, human failure, human errors and mistakes. We'll get into that later on. Number two reason is that the processes are either not in place, they're not clear, the responsibility, the accountability isn't clear. So even if the messages get to the right person, they don't know what to do, necessarily.
So, coming into that, real-time, I think everybody will agree to me saying that real-time technology changed the game a little bit. So when we got the monitors in a real-time, everybody knows you are aware of your issues, you are proactive, you can mitigate and all of these things. It's a nice to have. It literally changed the game. I think maybe if we look 5, 6, 7 years back, many companies were skeptical about the viability, the technology and these kind of things. But as is today, at least from our end, we move everything. We moved everything for years. Everything that goes cross-border on these devices, we see everything, and we've been able to mitigate enormous amount of issues by having this in place, also in the trucks, also where you may, through TTP regulations, not need it, but we just say it is just better to have one solution for all. Now, however, it's not perfect, and the reason why I called Ada a year ago, said, you know, everybody knows what control towers is, but we are really, really not delivering the full value in this in some cases. We need some kind of a real-time control. Everybody knows what a logistic control tower is. It's a clear concept, but a real-time control tower that fully governs and fully takes care of what is moving. We didn't have it, and I don't think everybody shares the same vision of what it should be. So we had a little bit of an argument, Ada and I, because he said, we have that. I said, no, you don't have that. So let's have the conversation and see what we really want. And through that, I believe we created, at least for our company, a significant value. And we're going to talk a little bit about it here. So real-time is great. We're doing well. I think 99.4% first time right, all our shipments. But there is a segment there that is very, very crucial, which is usually the 2-to-8 products. And we're moving more and more 2-to-8. And these are usually the expensive products, these very critical products, these life-saving products that need to be there on time. And it's not the economic part of it. It is literally a life-saving conversation to have. So we wanted to gap the last 1 or 2 percentages or half a percentage. But we had to look at it from end to end and see how we could improve it. On top of this, as everybody knows, we have this to deal with more and more. Pandemics, geopolitical conflicts, it's a nice word for a war. The 24/7 global reach, it is a challenge to have products all over the world, and there are different time zones. The port congestions, criminal activity is definitely a part of it. Brexit is a part of it, although some people tell me that actually Brexit is a criminal activity. But that is another topic. So in the middle of this is the human, is the person who needs to deal with this. And in this situation, a human usually makes an error, and that's where technology cannot help. And that's the part that is missing was missing of Ada's control tower in this contest. So building a little bit on what I said earlier about how much is moving to 2-to-8, so cold chain usually. It is increasing, definitely for our company, but in general, this is a global view of 28. You'll see the darker colors representing 2-to-8 key products coming into the market. And this is where the problem sits. This is our data showing, but I think it represents fairly also the market in general, that 50% of all excursions, of issues, serious issues that do happen, they happen in this space, in the 2-to-8. Although we're only moving 10% of our total volumes as 2-to-8, because we are generic by nature, these 10% create 50% of the issues that we have. And it's increasing. And that is the missing piece that we want to close. And coming a little bit to the conversation that we had here on the panel, you heard, does anybody remember the ratio? I think Novo Nordic went from 80 down to 30 because they are selling so much and everybody wants to go on a diet. And that's why they need to expedite the products. But this is more or less where the landscape sits. There is a need, there is a challenge, there is a clear ask for more, let's say, more conscious and global responsibilities on logistics. Depends a little bit in which business you are. For us, it is actually both economical and sustainable to move by ocean. I do believe we are leading the game here. We are up at 91% today. But the average is somewhere between 50 and 70, I would say, depending on where the industry, what kind of business you have. But with this comes more complexity and it's more difficult to handle 2-to-8 when you are going by ocean. Everybody knows this. And this is where we have the biggest gaps. So, moving on. Maybe, Ada, you can tell us a little bit about your control tower, which...
Yes, and we might drop the, Mars phrase. So I want to clear that it's not the planet, it's the monitoring and response service that we have, and we call Mars. And we have Martians or Mars agents that are specially trained people dedicated to monitor the shipments, the ongoing shipments, and respond to any events, whatever that might be. It could be a temperature excursion or any business event that has been deemed important enough to take action when it occurs. So we have our team has about 12,000 interventions per month with the response time under 20 minutes. These are just facts, but or statistics. But they are on duty 24/7, 365, because as Val mentioned, shipments are ongoing all year, all day, every week, all the time, in different time zones. So somebody's awake and something has happened somewhere, and our team is reflecting that fact. And just very quickly over the typical process. I'm not going to go and tire you by going into nitty-gritty details here. But of course, this is about taking action. It's about knowing that the event has happened, the deviation is there, or the excursion has happened. People reach out, our agents reach out to the relevant LSPs or whoever is the right stakeholder at the time, depending on the instructions they have for that particular customer, based on where the goods are located, etc. And then you would reach out to them in the hope of that they would do what you ask them to do. They would respond back with information. And that is probably describing the situation as it was prior to, and Val will go through what has changed and what has made made it possible for us to receive and get to the results needed for this fraction of shipments that Val still was worried about and we weren't covering well enough in the system or with the setup we had. So, Val, do you want
to put this a little bit into perspective and examples. I want to give you two examples. My current favorite mistake or gap we recently experienced is what is a human mistake? We had an example in a top-notch facility in the US not a long time ago. Nobody could explain what had happened. The products were put in the wrong temperature zone, and after a very, very long investigation, we found out that the person actually handling the products, the reason why he placed it not inside the container, but literally next to the container that had been preconditioned for our goods, was that he was dyslexic. He couldn't read. He knew this more or less in and out. He'd been working there for years and years, and nobody knew. And something happened that day. Maybe his kid got sick. Something happened and just brought him a little bit out of in stress, and had issues with reading the documentation on how this product needs to be, and puts it next to it. There is no technology in the world that handles these kind of things. And there are countless examples like this. But I chose this one because I think it describes what we're up against too, and it also describes quite well what kind of mitigation actions we need to put in place. In regards to maybe extreme situations, everybody knows the congestions in the ports. We have the situation that vessel comes in, an accident happens on the port, bad weather, strike, what have you, something that is not under your control. It just happens. And if a port gets congested, everybody knows that the plugger, the containers, the reefers that come in and go out, they don't get plugged soon enough. At the end of the day, you have failure for 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe a day, maybe a weekend if you're unlucky, and your products are jeopardized. This is what we're trying to mitigate and try to figure out a solution to. A third one would be when technology fails. All of this assumes that there is a GPS signal everywhere. But is it really everywhere? You would be surprised. I was surprised to find out how many ports of this world do not have a proper GPS signal. I'm going to put the proud port of Runcorn for an example that everybody obviously knows, which is close to Liverpool in England. It doesn't have it. So we lose signals of Ada's data loggers a lot of times when the products go through there. And if somebody switches off our containers in that period, we don't know. The product goes off to US. 23 days later, I find out that I had an excursion in that port. This is the extreme. Yeah? So, in order to fight this, and this is what happens here. Yes, let's say we get the signal, And then there is an enormous change. So if we take the next slide here, what is really, really happening? This is what we did. Yes, we did set up the controls and the right tools with Ada and updated the service. But we needed to go internally and investigate who are we working with, who are we truly working with. Because there are a lot of people we're working with who we don't see, we don't even know of. So we have an LSP, yes, we know who we're moving our products with. There are handling agencies, there are custom authorities, there is a lot of external candidates out there who actually have the authority either to stop your products, move them, investigate them, or are, to our opinion, meant to help us to let's say, improve this. So the old process was a little bit like this here, that everybody, you know, there was a message going out, there was a message from the old control tower of Controlant saying, okay, you need to do something. Many cases the LSP did it, but in some cases the handling agents said, no, I'm not going to do it. I have no contract about this, I do not need to do this in my overtime, I'm going home, it's Friday afternoon, I will talk to you on Monday. We have 600 shipping sites, we have 80 markets, we have endless amount of scenarios to play with. So we needed to re-amp, first of all, the LSPs, recontract them. We needed to recontract everybody who they work with, and anybody who is not in the game, who doesn't fully share the accountability structure and is contracted, he cannot work with us. And this is the way to move this forward. On the other side, we put in a reinforced and now a real control tower where we have accountability and governance in the center of the solution, not just sending out messages and letting customers know, no, but literally governing it, making sure that anybody who potentially is handling and in the mix is actually doing what they are supposed to be doing. If not, the communication pattern takes in based on business rules. Usually to a senior person. Sometimes I get the call myself even, saying, listen, we have an issue at this port and we cannot get through. So decision can be made quickly. On the other end, everything that we do move, and that was the added value that we started with, is say, okay, everything that we are moving, go back to the signal issue that we had earlier, I mentioned earlier. We need to know that there are lockers. And if we don't get a signal, it means, okay, probably it's okay, but we don't really know. So there is a process in place now, and let's say manual and let's say human process in place, that every 3 hours, a person in this control tower monitors our shipments and takes it, sees them. Yes, it's moving, I see it, I see the lockers, I see where they are going, yes, they are on the right milestone, and we can check this. Of course, this costs money, there's an added and service charges and all of these things, and I have to pay the carriers a little bit more, I have to pay the LSPs a little bit more, but at the end of the day, in 8 months, this has more or less improved our ratio in 2 to 8 by 80%. So we're almost closing the gap of the impossible, which is to fully eradicate temperature excursions of 2 to 8 shipments. A very nice addition to that value is the added use. So we started using this some time ago, but it hadn't matured. But this also comes from the IT section and from the information that we all have somewhere, is a heat map and risk map of the lanes of this world. Where are the worst ports? What seasonalities do we need to look into? What are the options from A to B? And what are maybe even the suggestions to move from this port to another port in certain months of the year? We're using this more and more. We have, for several lanes and significant lanes of ours, we have actually added cost to the network by moving it somewhere else. But at the end of the day, put in a much, much secure and a stable lane. So with that, I do believe I'm going to leave you with, before we go into questions, if there are any, or if everybody wants to go into the spa, that's also an option. What are we talking? So the real-time, it's a fantastic tool, absolutely fantastic. I love it, but it didn't bring it. There are so many opportunities still out there that we can harvest by using this. And I think we're just tapping into some of it. And we proved, I believe, one more time that, you know, data and tool and IT is not only the only component here. It needs to be combined with the right people and governance and the processes around it. We put that in place. And we even manage our quality department to kind of almost accept the fact that operating models such as corporate policies are not sacred cows. They are good documents, but at times you need to look at them, think, is this really still valid? Is this really the best way we operate and how we do things? And with that, I believe we are okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention.